So today I'm going to show you how to make a 3-strand bracelet. I'm using tigertail thread. You can use fireline, wildfire or dandelion, whatever thread you prefer to use. I've cut 3 strands at 30 centimetres each. You're going to need 2 callous, jump rings, clasp, crimps and a mixture of beads. So to get started, we put the ends of our 3 strands together and then take a crimp and thread the crimp onto all 3 strands, which can be a little bit tricky. I'm using 2mm crimp beads. You can use slightly larger. Trouble is, using larger can look a bit messy later on as we use them in the bracelet. So then you thread the callot through the middle hole onto all 3 strands, and I think of it as a crocodile sort of eating up, so it's going to go up and it's going to eat the crimp. Close the callot, and I always use a pair of pliers just to give each corner of the callot just an extra little squeeze, just feel that secures it. Now on to the making part, and so you simply choose one bead that you'd like on each strand. So I've got a random mix of 4mm bicones here, so I've put them on, so one onto each strand, just making sure these strands don't get tangled because that won't look so good come the end. So I've got one on each, and then I'm going to take a crimp bead again, thread it onto all 3 strands. So I've got 3. So I'm going to be a bit pedantic and let my OCD take over, and I'm actually going to measure the distance. So that's approximately 2 centimetres between the callot and the crimp. So I'm going to crimp there, and then I'm going to make sure that all my gaps along my bracelet are 2 centimetres. So I'm going to add another bead to each strand. So I'm going to choose some slightly different colours, orange, and then this is going to end up being a really bright, vibrant, colourful bracelet. So again, I've got one bead on each, put a crimp bead onto all 3 strands, and then when it's on, I'm going to measure to make sure it's 2 centimetres from the previous crimp. So that was approximately that, so I'm just going to squash that with my pliers. You can use crimp covers over the top of your crimp so that it looks like a little bead in between each set of beads. It's entirely up to you. I find because these crimps are quite small, it doesn't really have an impact, doesn't take away from the final look of the bracelet. I think if you were using sort of larger crimps like 3mm crimps plus, then you might want to use crimp covers, but then you have the issue of the crimp maybe too large for the crimp cover to go over, so swings and roundabouts really. Right then, so I've done another set of beads, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to just add another crimp, and then I shall show you what it's like at the end in a moment once I've crimped this. Okay, so I carry on making now until I get the length that I like, and then I shall come back and explain how to finish the bracelet. Okay, so now I'm at the length that I'd like my bracelet to be. You notice I haven't put a final crimp on just yet. So the bracelet's going to, at the moment, just with the beads, be at approximately 18 centimetres. Now what you've got to remember is by the time you've added a clot on the other end, jump ring, lobster clasp, whatever clasp you're using, and then a jump ring to join the lobster clasp on, that's adding about 2 centimetres onto your bracelet. So I'm going to say that 18 centimetres for me is long enough. So what I'm going to do to finish is I'm going to take my calotte and I'm going to thread it on. Now this time I'm threading it so the opening is going to be facing the ends of the tiger tail. So it's going from almost the bottom of the calotte, and it's going to, all 3 strands are going to thread up and through. And then I'm going to take my crimp and we're going to add the crimp onto the tiger tail. And again, I want to check it's approximately 2 centimetres. That's approximately 2 centimetres of the previous crimp. And then I'm going to put my pliers inside. Now you can move the cloth further down, which actually I might well just do a little bit to make it a bit easier for crimping. That's a good thing about this design, is you don't have to worry about crimping inside your calotte so much. As ever, always make sure your crimp is firmly crimped. The last thing you want is to get to the end of a bracelet or necklace and then it to break. That has happened so many times, unfortunately, with bracelets and necklaces I've made where I've just not quite done the crimp tight enough. So I've trimmed the tiger tail off, so just a couple of millimetres sticking up above it. Pull the calotte over the top of the crimp so it closes over. And again, use my pliers just to give it a little squash. Squash each corner. 1, 2. And now I'm going to add a jump ring to one end. These jump rings already opened, so I don't have to worry about opening it. Pop it through the loops in the calotte, hold my jump ring opposite sides and twist away from me. And then I always sometimes give it a little squeeze on top of the jump ring, just to make sure it's secure. And this side I've got a smaller jump ring, just to find it a bit neater to have a smaller jump ring to hold the clasp, but a larger jump ring to hook the clasp onto. I'm going to pop that through the calotte, close that, give it a little squeeze at the top, and there we go. So let's see how long this bracelet is. So yep, from there to finish, it's approximately, if you can see, 20 centimetres. So the calotte's clasp and jump rings does add 2 centimetres. And there we go. There is our 3-strand tiger tail bracelet.